Well, welcome back, Devils fans, and potentially some Ottawa Senators fans. It appears as though Travis Green is moving on from his gig as the interim head coach of the New Jersey Devils to become the head coach of the Ottawa Senators. And I'm sure lots of Senators fans are potentially scratching their head about this move or wondering, what the situation was, how it played out, how it came to be, what they're getting in Travis Green. And all I could say is, no disrespect to Travis Green, I think he can be a good coach in this league. However, at this time, I do not think he was the right candidate for the New Jersey Devils group that we have here. And so I'm glad he's getting an opportunity elsewhere. I wanted us to get someone from outside of the organization, and the search continues. And so, Green came in, filled in for Lindy Ruff when he was released, and Green went 8-12-1 as the Devils' interim head coach. Not great by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, the Devils were riddled with injuries, and we had a lot of things not go our way. And it was tough. It was a playoff drive. We were trying to stay alive in the race. Teams in front of us kept losing, and we just couldn't string it together. Could not consistently win. Under Green, the Devils blew, I want to say it was like 4 or 5 games in a row where we blew a lead during that crucial stretch. And to me, that's unforgivable. I'm not putting all the blame on the coach, but to me, that is something that just cannot happen when we were fighting for our lives in all those games. We blew the lead in Buffalo and then Pittsburgh against the Rangers. I think they blew one against Ottawa. This was all like in a week's time. It was absolutely maddening. And, good for Green. He's been in the league a while now, and he's played in this league, so he's very familiar with, the hockey world, and I think he could do fine there. I'm just glad that Fitzgerald ultimately decided to go into another direction, and Green wasn't named the head coach here because I just don't think at this time he's the coach for this group. With that being said, now it also comes out today that the New Jersey Devils have also interviewed Craig Berube and Todd McLellan for the opening of head coach. Very interesting stuff. Berube is a guy that would be high on my list. I don't know that he would be my immediate must-have guy, but he's definitely high on my list of names that have been thrown around. I'm curious where the Devils left off with Berube, and I do believe Ottawa also interviewed Berube, and he was probably their first choice. If I had to, again, this is pure speculation, if I had to guess, I'm thinking that Berube is probably the hottest name available that a lot of teams are on the trail of. Ottawa probably wanted Berube, and Berube was probably kind of waiting to see how some of these other situations would play out before he made a move. And if I really had to, speculate here, I'd imagine that maybe the situation in Toronto is holding up the entire thing. I think most people think that Toronto is going to blow it up entirely, and that head coach Sheldon Keefe will be amongst the pieces that are thrown by the wayside as this Toronto organization tries to figure out the mess that is the Toronto Maple Leafs. But I think maybe Berube's trying to wait to see what happens there, because if Keefe gets canned from Toronto like most expect, maybe they want to talk to a guy like Berube. Obviously, Berube interviewed with the Devils, and so to me, in most people's planets, the New Jersey Devils or Toronto Maple Leafs would both be a way more desirable location than the Ottawa Senators, given where both of those franchises are in their timeline of competing for a Stanley Cup versus Ottawa Senators, and not to mention the geography and all that stuff as well. So I do believe that Berube's probably waiting it out. Now, when it comes down to New Jersey and Toronto, listen, the head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs is definitely a much more prestigious job than the coach of the New Jersey Devils. But I would say at the very moment, if Fitzgerald does his job and gets a few pieces for us this summer, I would say honestly that I believe the New Jersey Devils were better equipped to compete for a Stanley Cup in the next 5 years. I think they're very close. With all that being said, I would say the chances of a Stanley Cup between the Devils and the Maple Leafs, if I'm a head coach, I would say, you can make the argument for both. But we do have a lot of young pieces that we could build upon, hopefully with these right moves, goalie, defense, etc. And the Maple Leafs had that core four that just couldn't get it done. And so now Marner might be moving on from the Maple Leafs, and you'll have your Willie Nylander and Austin Matthews and some of the other pieces there. But there's a lot of question marks surrounding the Maple Leafs, and that comes with a lot of pressure as well. I do think some coaches and players alike, one of the luxuries that playing for the Devils provides you is that the media is nowhere near as intense as it is in these traditional hockey markets like Toronto, Montreal, and that stuff must weigh on players. Their media could be ruthless. You got tons of cameras in your face, and it's a different lifestyle. Playing or coaching in one of those markets versus New Jersey is night and day. But like I said, I understand the Maple Leafs gig is definitely more prestigious, and so maybe Berube is waiting to see what happens there. I would not be upset by any stretch of the imagination if we hired Berube as the head coach. I just think now all these moving parts and guys are coming off the board. So I think Ottawa maybe got a little trigger happy, and Berube kind of passed on them or couldn't give them a concrete answer while he waits to see how it all goes down. And they said, you know what, Travis Green could be a guy for us. Let's just get this taken care of before another team grabs him. And that's a really good position for guys like Travis Green and Berube to be in at the moment, because as teams reassess their needs, there's going to be more competition for these coaches. And so maybe Fitzgerald maybe not even have told Green that he definitely wasn't getting the job, but maybe he said he couldn't offer to him at the moment. And Green kind of was just looking for the first guaranteed thing he could get, and it seems like Ottawa will be that team. And so Travis Green takes the gig with the Senators, and the Devils coaching search continues. I would not be upset with Berube. There's some other names out there as well. They interviewed Todd McLellan. I'm not sure how I really feel about him. I'd have to do a little more research before I gave a real opinion one way or the other. But I do like kind of where Fitzgerald's head is at. I personally, no knock to these younger coaches and guys from either minor leagues or college, but I do not want the Devils to look for someone unproven, unfortunately. I think where we are as a team right now, I just want someone who's been there before, a veteran with experience, with a resume. I'm not saying they have to have won the Stanley Cup. That's an added bonus. If they're a previous Cup winner, great. That's great, but I'm by no stretch of the imagination making that a prerequisite. I just want a guy who's been in the league, knows how it works, has experience, and it's not going to be like an experiment. I'm not looking for an experimental hire, unfortunately. I don't want to prove that so-and-so from NCAA hockey could make the jump to the big leagues. I'm just not on board with that, and I don't think that would be the best decision for the group we have now. And so I do think we need one of those disciplinarian, more no-nonsense, hard-nosed type coaches. And Berube, I think, would have fit the bill with that. There's some other names, and I have some real crazy, unconventional ones. I guess I'll probably put that out soon because all this coaching stuff seems like it's going to be coming in, hot and heavy in the upcoming days and weeks as teams figure out the direction they're looking to go in. But Travis Green, no longer the interim head coach of the New Jersey Devils, will be moving on to Ottawa. And I guess the other question that leads me to is, and maybe it is a bit of an obsession at this point, but I'm just trying to will this thing into existence. How does this, coaching hire in Ottawa, how does this maybe impact a guy like Brady Tkachuk's outlook on the team and the direction of the Ottawa Senators in general? I mean, it's a fair question to ask. And you couldn't even make up this plot line, right? It's like the guy that I want more desperately than any player I've wanted in the history of my fandom, because Brady Tkachuk brings exactly what this Devils team needs and is missing. Not too many guys in the league like him, and I think him on this team really just transformed the look of this New Jersey Devils club going forward. And I don't think there's any other single guy in the league that could impact a whole team as much as Brady Tkachuk could. And that's why I'm hoping we're really giving it a hard look and trying to figure out how we could possibly get him here. The Senators fans are going to be salty and come after me, and it's fine. Again, I'm not saying this is happening, but the reality is we all know Brady is not thrilled with what has gone down in Ottawa since he's been there. And given the opportunity to move on to someone like New Jersey, it could make sense for both parties. And that is all. That's all I'm here to talk about. It could make sense from both parties. And, who knows what Brady thinks about this hiring? I have no idea. Could this impact his decision one way or another? Can he see this maybe as a move, more of a team on the rise and not a true contender? I mean, it's hard to say, right? Ottawa, they were kind of right there till the end, too. And, there's a lot of good teams in this league. So any given year, a team could kind of turn around and get into the playoffs. But, was Brady Tkachuk possibly looking for a different coach to be hired? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here. But it is all interesting if that could play in his decision whether he wants to request a trade or not. Obviously, Ottawa does not want to get rid of him, and rightfully so. Who would want to get rid of a guy like Brady Tkachuk? But if he, goes to management and says he wants to be moved, they'll do everything they can to get the best package for him, and I'm hoping that situation plays out. That's all I could hope for, because he would be a perfect fit for this Devils club. Hopefully Fitzgerald can make him an offer they can't refuse, as they say, and we could land Brady. That would be phenomenal. But the Devils coaching interviews continue on. Confirmed Craig Berube, Todd McLellan interviewed for the gig. Travis Green moving on to Ottawa, and it's going to be an interesting couple of days. A lot of news for a Monday in the Devils offseason anyway, during the playoffs. with some of these prospects. Seamus Casey, we got Jacob Malik. I'll be talking about that in a different video later. But let me know what you guys think in the comments about Green leaving us to go to Ottawa. Do you think this could impact the whole Brady situation in any way? And what do you guys think about Berube and McLellan? I know a lot of you in the comments in the past few weeks have said you like Berube and have been asking me about him. I like Berube. You know, I just wish... That's the thing that sucks with the urgency, because there's built-in urgency. Because as teams fall off, you know, the Kraken's looking for a coach, and now the Leafs might be blowing it up, and, you know, there's a lot of weird stories at Sullivan in Pittsburgh, and so there's all these moving parts, and, you know, you sometimes might have to kind of rush and make a decision sooner than you want to, just because you don't want to lose guys that you might be hot on, and that's the unfortunate part of it. You know, I wanted it to be an extensive coaching search, but the way it's all playing out, like, if Berube's really a guy Fitz wants, he might have to move quickly, or hope that he doesn't get offered the Toronto job if that's something in the back of Berube's head. Who knows? It'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. I would not be upset with Berube. I would like us to interview a lot more coaches just to kind of, you know, see what's out there and what the different coaches' philosophies and things are coming into this group. But, you know, there's another thing of the whole way this season went down. Some head coaches might be skittish on either Fitzgerald or ownership or both. The fact that, you know, we've heard all these references to roster autonomy and coaches having full control of the roster, like, it was kind of discouraging to hear that, because I didn't think that was something that even needed to be discussed. You know, most experienced coaches in the league have autonomy of the roster, and it's not something they have to talk about with management as, like, a sticking point. You know, Travis Green was adamant before taking the interim head coach position that he wanted roster autonomy, and I'm just like, the fact that it even has to be discussed is kind of strange. I don't know. It's a lot of weird stuff. Unfortunately, you know, it is what it is. It's a business, and sometimes owners meddle in business a little too much. But that's it. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this. What do you think about Berube? Green is gone. Yada, yada. All the rumors. We signed Seamus Casey. That video's up. If you haven't seen it, check out my Seamus Casey video. I also put up a link to a video that I took at development camp last year in the summer when Casey came in. Really some cool footage of him playing in the scrimmage game. And that's it. And that is it. I'll be back soon. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go Devils.